Now we're going to talk about another kind of sketching, oblique pictorial. So far we did just some general sketching, and then we did 1 and 2 point perspectives. Now we're going to talk about oblique perspectives. First we're going to talk about a little bit about these three types, 2D illustrations of a 3D object. Our whole problem is that we need to be able to draw 3D objects on a flat surface. And there's basically three types of drawings. The isometric we're going to get to later, and then we have the two oblique drawings. That's what we're going to be doing now. And here's the perspective drawing over here. Basically the difference in these obliques compared to the perspective is that here we had one vanishing point and all these lines went toward one point. On both of these kinds, these lines are perfectly parallel. Here, these lines weren't parallel because they were all going toward the same point. So the oblique pictorial starts with a straight-on view. This is not an oblique. This is an oblique of what this is. So just like we saw in our one-point perspective, the front is perfectly flat to you. This time, however, we're going to set what this angle is here. It could be 45, it could be 30 or 60. 45 is pretty common. And all your depth is going back at whatever this angle is you set. It's not going to one point, it's all going back parallel at this angle. So the two common types that we're going to draw today, and you're going to just need to know the difference, are cavalier and cabinet. And the difference between them is how deep it shows. In a cavalier, we show it to the full actual depth that it's supposed to be. So if this length and this length are the same length on our actual object, we take and measure this length and then measure back that far in order to make them exactly the same on the drawing. In cabinet, we make this half as far back. And the difference is this, I could actually put a ruler on here and measure how long this piece is and know how long the real piece in real life is. Here I'd have to take and multiply times 2 to get it. However, this one looks like it's been stretched when we look at it because of the way we perceive two-dimensional drawings. So they both have kind of a pros and cons to them. So here's our thing again. The cavalier, this is a full depth here. And the cabinet, it's a half depth, so I can't put a ruler on and measure it exactly. However, this one looks more correct to our eyes. If you have a trouble remembering cavalier versus cabinet, I read a little thing that remember that cabinets, like your kitchen, everything fits neatly inside cabinets. That's because this is the one that looks a little bit better to us. If that helps you remember the difference, that helps you remember. So now we're going to start with this little shape, and you're going to draw along with the PowerPoint on the handout I gave you. So we're going to first imagine that this little L-shaped block has been put inside a glass box, making just a regular box here. And we're going to take and measure the overall width here, and we're going to use a scale of 1 to 2 on our paper. So we're going to make one of these squares 2 squares wide on our paper. So start by drawing 4 inches across the bottom. I'm sorry, not 4 inches, 4 squares across the bottom. And the height here, if it's 3 here, it needs to be, how far here? 6. Finish drawing in your rectangle. Now you're going to copy this over here as well for your cabinet as well as your oblique. So the first thing you're going to do is draw a line at a 45 degrees. Remember, that's going to actually take you through the corners of the boxes as you go back. What you need to do is measure with your ruler how far is 2 blocks here, and that's how far back you're going to go, 2 blocks there. Draw all of them in so you can do it, and draw in the front of your cabinet. Now what's the difference in the cabinet? It only goes half as far back. So measure this distance, and you want to have only half of this distance going back on this one. So now you should have these two boxes drawn. Now we're going to draw in this part here. It's pretty easy to draw it in on the front. We're drawing in to get this L shape going on. And I haven't said a lot about it because you guys have been doing an amazing job at it with the sketching you've done so far. But as we draw these back lines in, we should be drawing these kind of light so that we can go back and erase them. You saw that on the videos of the other kind of sketching we've already done, but you should continue it here. Draw everything in light until you get to the very end, and then darken up the ones you're going to keep. So we drew in this L here. And now to get the top part, we're going to go from this point here, and this line needs to be parallel to this line. Now we're going to draw in this end over here. And again, we come straight from here back parallel to the one below it, and it's the same length as the one below it. There's the front of our shape, the top, the side. This is where we can go back in and darken in these lines. And then what are we literally missing off of this picture up here? Well, we need to draw this little crease in right there, that little crease. And then go straight up from that, that should connect with this point here, and straight over. That part, part of this is going to be erased here, and we need to just finish drawing in dark the parts we're going to keep. Now you need to create the same thing on this side. It's going to be the same steps, it's just half as deep. When you're done, it should look like this. Now, I'm going to tell you what tonal shading is. Tonal shading is where you pick a color, like red or blue or green, and you make the front side, or you make one side kind of darkish. You make another side, like this side here on the right, this side and this side, lighter, and then you leave the other side white. So again, you make one side, like the front, dark, one side like the side, medium, and then you leave another side like the top without any color on it. That's tonal shading. We'll be using that as we move forward. Go ahead and use tonal shading on both of these in your notes. And that's the end of our video about obliques.